When I walk into a classroom and students are like, I'm such and such, and these are my pronouns, I think it's just really, really incredible to see the youth being so supportive. When I was in high school, there was a lot of bullying, and it's like completely different now. Youth give me so much hope for the future and that us as a society can do better. My name is Willie Poll. I am a member of the Métis Nation of Ontario. I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and I now live in beautiful Charlottetown, PEI on Mi'kmaq territory. So I did my bachelor's in Indigenous studies, and I ended up working in the north for a little bit and working in land-based education. When I moved back home, I just decided that I was going to start working with youth full-time. Working in Sault Ste. Marie, I had some students who were from Lion Reserves, and that was the first time that I realized that there were youth who had to leave their communities, leave their families, and go to a whole new city just to get a high school education. Unfortunately, a lot of people working in education don't necessarily understand the needs of Indigenous communities. I worked at a school that was near the Highway of Tears, and I drove with one of my students who's a visibly Indigenous young woman. Seeing how normal it was for her to look at sign after sign of missing women was just not okay. After I came back from my trip, I had this dream. I was staring down at the water, and there were all of these women in red standing behind me. And I woke up and I just started writing. When I say I wrote a kid's book about missing and murdered Indigenous women, it's challenging. The story is really about Indigenous kids and Indigenous girls, and just spark the adults' minds to think of how can we fix this. A lot of organizations that work with MMIW speak about women and women's safety. And when we go to rallies and protests, it's largely women and gender diverse people, yet it's men who are perpetrating over 90% of the violence. And so we really need to bring men and boys into the conversation for there to be real change. And I think that's something the Moosehead campaign really focuses on that resonated with me. I think especially right now in the political climate, a lot of non-Indigenous teachers are really kind of afraid to bring up these topics, and they don't necessarily have the resources to do so. And so the Moosehead campaign really kind of spoke to me, and I have been working full-time with them ever since. I work with different influencers and different knowledge keepers to build our youth program. And so I got to work with an Indigenous elder, Judy Clark, in PEI to do the sunrise ceremony. It was my first ceremony that I got to do in PEI, and that was really, really beautiful. When I was 20 years old, I started working for the Métis Nation of Ontario and learning more about my culture, where I come from, and learning about my ancestors. But then I've been mostly working in different First Nations that have kind of provided me the same sense of community and spirituality as if I was home. I go to sweats as often as I can, I drum, and I have this collection of songs these nations taught me. I think when you work with youth, that your proudest moments are not often your own. It's like seeing youth that you work with thriving. I have one student who is just rocking it at barrel racing. And every time I see a video posted of her doing a run, I'm just in tears because she's so incredible. And I have youth who've had families and have kids, and it's just so beautiful to see. My biggest advice for Indigenous youth is just to know how powerful you are, that your knowledge is so important. You're gonna do incredible things no matter which path you take, no matter how long it takes to get there. The best thing we can do is to take some time to listen to Indigenous youth, listen to what they want, listen to how they want to be supported, and ask them those questions before we just kind of step in and take over. It's a reciprocal relationship. You have to be open to learning from Indigenous youth.